So, as we know, every team has their coding standards, their patterns, their way of doing things, and every time you onboard a new tool or a teammate, you lose a little bit of that. And today I'm going to show you how we've solved this with a new open source plugin marketplace. So over the weekend, as you guys know, we've been using a lot of different agents, skills, commands, hooks that has really improved our development process, from making sure that all of our tickets have good requirements to ensuring that when the agent says that it's complete, that it actually is complete, to things like Alpha Agent, where we're now starting to get into autonomous coding, but done in a test-driven and production-ready way. So one of the things that was just recently released over the weekend was the Alpha Agent team. So all of the different plugins that we use internally, all bundled into a marketplace for us to use across all of our different projects, and hooks directly into the Alpha Agent project. So as you know, Alpha Agent goes in, the team will go in and analyze your entire code base to tell you what the tech stack is, what your design system is, the different environment variables, the features, all different critical paths, so that you can vibe code in production and ship production ready code. So the way that this marketplace, and you can start using this marketplace, is just in your Claude Code, just do /plugin marketplace, and then add the-answer AI /alpha agent -team. So you can just copy this out. And what that'll do is it'll add the marketplace to your Claude Code instance. Then you can install each one of these different pieces individually. You can install them either at a project level, or you can install them at the user level. And they're broken into a few different categories. So we have workflow. So these, some of the ones that we have are like our core, which I'll go down here to show you what's in here. So we have our core, which are all of our Git operations, how we do pull requests, code reviews, any essential commands across all of our code bases, as well as some hooks that I found extremely useful for making sure that it doesn't, so that it deterministically checks for things like anti-patterns, code coverage, or test coverage, I should say, if it's been completed or not. As well as making sure that you're not using commands for package managers, like if you're using PNPM, it doesn't try to use npm or yarn or whatever package manager is there. I've also bundled up all of the different project manager plugins. So all of the ones for Linear, Jira, and GitHub, they all have some of the same items. So for instance, to be able to create, plan, optimize, and triage all of your different issues, whether they're be in Linear, Jira, or GitHub. And then we have a few development agent plugins, and they're completely separated from the different tech stacks. As you know, we work on lots of different types of projects that have varying tech stacks, and that's one of the reasons that these are all split out, is because you can kind of pick and choose which one that you need, or if you're using the Alpha Agent tool, after you import your project, it'll actually recommend which agents you should be using, as well as the different stack skill plugins. So while the development agent plugins are about instructions and how things should be done globally across our front end, back end, database, the skill plugins allow for those different agents to use the different skills. So for instance, if you're working in a project that's using SQLite versus Postgres, you can kind of pick and choose them, as we work across a lot of different tech stacks in our day-to-day work. So we started off with just the ones that we use primarily, which is primarily a JavaScript-based full stack development using things like Next.js, Vite, and then some of the different UI components like Tailwind, Material UI, as well as the different testing components. And then we have some specialized plugins. And I think these are the ones that really create the ability to do autonomous coding because we have specialized ones for testing. So making sure that our unit, our API, our end-to-end tests, these are all specialized agents and skills that can help with test-driven development. Also architecture, so being able to define how we architect our different solutions, the different design patterns, as well as documentation, being able to write technical documentation and find documentation gaps and possible areas where documentation may be incorrect. As well as blogging, so it's not just about building it, you also have to create content around it. So being able to help you plan your content calendar, be able to write and review different blog posts based off the different features that you're shipping, as well as DevOps across the different various tools that we use, from Render to AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and Netlify, Vercel, depending on what your CI/CD deployment is, as well as quality. And this is one of the most important. So this is a plugin that can help raise the level of quality of your code bases so that agents don't get confused about anti-patterns, seeing different things in different places where the context may have been done one way, but you've done it a different way, maybe dead code, and perhaps testing gaps. And these are all meant to, and this is an open source marketplace that you can use today.
Nice. I think it's really useful for teams and all, because at this moment that we are all vibe coding, this help you to sync between team members, the skills, the plugin. I think it's really great what you did there.
Awesome. Yeah, let me just show you.
Yeah, this one's
quick.
nice. I love skills too, like how they're doing it. Overcell is also handling skills, where you can add skills. I think this is having like a lot of waves. Do you have in the plans to have more insert related skills outside of like the general project management, development, skills that will allow you to interact with the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a few different skills that we use internally. For instance, our MCP tool that can help, create, edit, discover. I don't have any of the third parties. That was going to be kind of phase 2, where we kind of use all create skills and how we use, for instance, Auth0. I did actually put Auth0 in there, but how we use all of our different tools and third-party applications. That would be like kind of the second phase of this, to add add plugins for each one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, I would also see this as a second phase, not necessarily as an evolution of the current project, but a separate set of skills where you have it more focused to work with the platform. You should check out the latest, I think, loudest release of skills in the past week has been Remotion. So maybe we can be second.
Stay tuned for the later in the in the show and tell. That definitely kind of started piquing my interest a little bit. So let me just show you real quick how you can use these if you haven't used plugins. What you can do is, so when you open up your Claude instance, you can go and you can just type /plugin. As you can see, you can discover, you can also see which marketplaces you have installed. So if you haven't installed it yet, you can simply just run that command, plugin, marketplace. That's how you do any add. And then you just, I can just copy this out here. It would just be like that. You hit enter, and you would add the marketplace. I've already installed it, so it's put in there. Then once you're in and you have that installed, you can go in and you can just simply just type AI and see all of the different ones that we have. You can also just type for instance, like linear, for the different ones. I already have a lot of these already installed, as you can see, but you can search for them. You can see which ones you have installed. As you can see, I've installed pretty much all of them for testing, and and the reason they're different plugins is so that you can mix and match them, because you don't want to have context bloat. So you have the different skills at any different or different plugins for any different project you might be working on, and excited to see. And this is an open source repo that you can use today.
That's awesome, Brad. I like it that it's open source and so easy to add to Claude Code. Making them so granular helps. It's every project, and I like that pattern where you have like different ones for every technology, and then you have some where it's like more higher level abstraction. You can orchestrate them better. I do have one quick question, or maybe it's not that quick. If you've seen this, what about like extending this once I have them in my, I've go in, install the plugins from the answer, get them on, I like it, I want to change the small pattern. What do I do next?
Yeah, so one, you can either fork it, or you can also use the Alpha Agent application, and that's kind of what the goal of this is. So essentially in the Alpha Agent, there's a marketplace, so you can install any one of these to your agent team, and this basically gets the raw details. So for instance, in this marketplace, I can install any one of these into my main area, but then on the per project basis, the goal being that you can come in here and take this agent and then install them and make them your own. So essentially like using these as a starting point where, hey, here's the starting point, but I want to tweak it just a little bit to be more unique to my specific code base, and uses AI to kind of analyze your code base and make those small tweaks, which then also too would look at your past history and your different sessions and recommend changes to the team and the skills.
Right. So it can learn about the skills available, how you used it, what the differences are, and like how to optimize it for your flow.
Exactly. Because a lot of these types of things, they'll get stale really quick, especially when you have a very evolving code base, and when you work in multiple different types of code bases that may all have little different tweaks. That's why keeping the skills and the tech stack completely separated from the agents is so important. So yeah, I think going forward, we'll probably want to start taking out some of these more project related ones and start installing these so that we have, especially for instance, like the project management ones, these should just be the same across all of our different projects. I love the fact that our main project has the ability to create very, very detailed and good tickets that agents can read off of. So this now extends it to all the different code bases that we use. Yeah,
that's definitely it. I like to get that across all projects. First thing that comes to mind is like putting it on my personal global, but I think it makes sense that we do it on a per project basis. We can all contribute to that. I would love like a deeper session into how we contribute back. Going back to my previous question, I know you can fork it, but what if we just want to do like a small update? How does it work? Does it take like, if I have the same skill with the name on my local configuration and that overrides? I don't want to get super technical right now, but I think for that, like the next step I would like to see is how we contribute. Do a session on that, right? Like get on a call and we can see how we both change them and then how we push that and validate back.
So if you want to contribute to this repo, I mean, this is where I really see us really dialing this into how we work. So create a PR, just like, any other code base. And I think this is important for us to kind of then review those and say, yes, that's a change that we want to make. Yes, I've seen that for each one of these plugins. The goal of this is to have a standard way that we do a lot of these things so that our code can become more deterministic, less probabilistic based off the different coding styles that we all have. While some of these like tech skills and things like that would be on a per project basis, some things like project management should be kind of global and installed at your users so that you have the exact same thing across them all. What's analyzed in the tickets, what's created, how do we do our acceptance criteria. That should be similar across all of them, but each one of those should just be a new PR, and there's actually a contributing document if you want to know if you do want to contribute to this. Being able to create a plugin. So if you wanted to create a brand new plugin, here's the structure. You can literally just clone this repo and ask Claude to help you. And then here's the different manifest, how to do different agent definitions, skill definitions, some anti-patterns of what not to do. So for instance, and the naming conventions and things like that.
This reminded me, like when you're talking about like this, we need to share to any of the team members, as you come into the project, and we want to put this on all projects. It reminded me like a couple of years ago when I started a new job at a kind of a corporation, more kind of company, not so much of a startup. The first 2 weeks you had to like read PDFs, right? Go through these presentations, the documentation, here's all the pages. Now it's like, here's your Claude, here's our plugins, like go get it. I think that changed a lot.
I mean, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen is Diego, you came on. There's a lot of talk around, not hiring entry-level engineers. I really, really disagree with that philosophy. Like, oh, there's going to be no more. No, it's just instead of coming in, reading PDFs for 2 weeks, not being able to contribute an actual meaningful PR for another month or two, like this, you could literally start shipping day one with this, because all of your accumulated knowledge over the years that your senior level engineers are developing, the standard operating procedures just solidified in plugins. You can have junior engineers that have the best coworker that can answer any question about the code, and that the code that they produce is going to be within your guidelines because they're using your plugins. So
this is huge. I have friends that are still working at companies like Oracle, and they've been struggling on getting this, like a good set of patterns, repetitive, that they can use with AI to work on those types of sites. I'm sure with Salesforce and SAP and some others happen the same. And they've had a lot of success using skills. Writing their documentation, their patterns, what works, what doesn't work into skills has allowed them to work on NetSuite, for example. This is big. Skills are definitely here in like 2026 is nice new feature.
Well, and the way that this was built too, and how I did this was essentially just audited all of our codes using the Alpha Agent software to then find what are the common patterns that we use, what are the technologies we use, and what are some of the anti-patterns that we kind of have, so we can kind of get those out of there, so that I didn't even have to go and sit down and write all of these. I had the agent look at all the code we've shipped over the past 8 years to develop these best practices.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how was the process of coming up with all these skills? All the different agents and all the different patterns that are in there. You kind of answered that. And I think it's a great moment where we can like take a step back and use AI not only to execute, but also to review, see what I've been doing, see all the chats I've had, all the projects that I've been starting, putting down, tasks that I got stuck with. I mean, it's infinite. And the connector kind of opens that up, hitting that point, Yeah. I'll share maybe next time as well. I did something similar, or not at all, but like using Obsidian's MCP to build a complete knowledge graph of every decision, every conversation, every chat, every document on my computer. It's revealing. It's seeing your entire past 4 years put into a graph. Some things make sense.
But then what it allows it to do is, like, for instance, we had a giant backlog. We had tickets that were in GitHub, right, as issues. We have we have the sync that was going on, but that was only, recently done about a month or so ago. So we had tickets that were possibly open as issues in GitHub. We had a lot of issues that have been put in, some things that have been done. So for instance here, this was already synced with GitHub. I had all of these details in here, and I went through and had a process. You probably saw a ton of notifications come through, where basically it went through and used the triager. And for instance, this triager, and I'll just kind of go into the actual plugin that is used. this thing will go in and execute. So basically, it gets the ticket details. It will extract any keywords from it, and then it will search for any duplicates, duplicate issues, duplicate items. It will check to see if it's been fixed by looking at the Git logs and the different pull requests, and we'll actually analyze the code base to see if it was fixed as well, and then it'll classify that as a duplicate if it's been fixed. And as you can see in this one, it said, hey, this has already been resolved. It was resolved in PR 762 and gives me the commit hash when it was merged. And it says, hey, this was explicitly added to all Langfuse trace method, fetching methods as specified in the requirements. So it went through, looked at the Git history, looked at the code, and was like, yep, thumbs up. But for ones that it didn't, it said, hey, this still exists in the code base. It was verified by looking at this actual file, identified the root cause, and triaged it, gave it the proper labels and the different projects. So it's hugely valuable.
I love that we are all, like, as an industry, I feel like right now, you can see the impact. Of course, all of us are very much into AI coding and like the latest models, the latest agents. You can see how we all trend towards the same problems, right? As new sets of skills come in, it really feels like we're super aligned as an industry on like what's next, what pattern we find out, the same things we talk about here, Anthropic's having their conversation and they add a feature that matches it. So we can push a little bit further, right? I've worked for 12 years. I don't know if that used to happen back in the jQuery days, in the CSS days. There were just patterns you followed, right? Like PHP. Just work with it, and now like everybody's up to it.
Well, the biggest difference is that it just reminded me of this meme that we used to always just follow. It was always frameworks. I think I saw a video like our framework's dead, right? So you'd see these patterns that would start to evolve. So then you'd create frameworks, and there was this meme that would always go around. It's like, I have a new framework down here, and the JavaScript developers just like coming down into the sewer. Because, we were like, oh, that solved that problem. Only these cycles would happen over, months, if not years. And, now they're happening in weeks, if not days.